What's good, guys? Just Prince TV here, coming at you with another one. So let's get started. Now, I told you, one of the most hyped up albums that I wanted to listen to was Lloyd Banks' Course of the Inevitable Part 2. It's already out right now. You could get it on all your streaming services. Check it out, listen to it, and tell me what you think of it. But this is my review of the album from the former G Unit member, or whatever you want to call him now, because he still has some G Unit ties. There's no beef. He's just going on to his own little world right now. And this world of Lloyd Banks still continues off from all his other previous projects prior to post G Unit era, when he's not part of the group anymore. Now, I noticed one thing about Lloyd Banks. All of his albums, as of recently, is like the soundtrack to Gotham City. They're all dark, grimy, gritty, full of depression. Okay? It's like this. If I was to tell you, you could listen to an album that sounds like this. Just let me paint this picture for you. When I was 8, my parents was murdered. Then I went after revenge. When I was 10, I got hooked to meth. Then I realized the whole world was crazy. Then I befriend somebody. Then that best friend tried to kill me the same night I became best friends with him. The whole world is cold and dark. Okay? That's what Lloyd Banks is doing. Those days of Blue Heffernan, stunt one-on-one. I teach you how to stunt, karma, hands up, all of that good stuff. That G Unit sound is not there. It hasn't been there for Lloyd Banks for quite some time. And a lot of people, especially from the streets, re-embraced his new style of just 100% grittiness. Now, this album is a great album to listen to if you're playing basketball on the block and you with your homies in the hood. This may be a good album to listen to while you by yourself. It's just chilling and relaxing, or you probably smoking, or you just pissed off at the world. You want to listen to some grimy music with no filter. This album be great for you. But those of us who want Blue Heffernan or / G Unit with some hood elements to it, you're not going to get this Lloyd Banks on here. A lot of the beats, the production on this album is like boom bap, okay, which I love. I'm from that era of hardcore grittiness, golden era of hip hop, But at the same time, this album gives you the feeling of somewhat nostalgia, but at the same time, it's a repetitive one. Okay, like each song almost sounds the same. As a matter of fact, every song on his album is repetitive, and his flow is almost repetitive to a point where you like, on some tracks, I can't even hear what you're saying, because that boom bap production, that beat is overpowering Lloyd Banks' voice. So some artists, especially the guest features, probably are the biggest thing on his album. The Benny the Bushes, the Jadakiss. He had a little taste of the G Unit with Tony Yayo on his album, and I wish there was more Tony Yayo, and yes, more 50 Cent, because 50 Cent presides the choruses, the hooks. And Lloyd Banks said himself, he learned how to do hooks and write songs from 50 Cent. So 50 Cent taught him a lot. And you can see 50 Cent's presence is really missing on this album. It could have used a little touch of 50 Cent on his album, to be honest with you. Because as much as I appreciate a Close to the Concrete, a grimy street album, you got to show me a little layers to this street. You got to take me into your world. And this world that Lloyd Banks is taking you into is pure fantasy. To think that everything, you can't trust nobody, and the whole world is this and that, gritty, grimy. What is this, the Batman movie all over again? You're watching a 3-hour movie of the Batman, But here's the thing about this album, though, man. This world he's trying to take you into is like pure fantasy more. You could go to the most coldest corners of the hood and see something positive in the hood. Like Tupac said, a rose could grow through concrete, right? You would stop and look at it, and you would stop and marvel at it in the most shittiest situations. And that's how it is, okay? In some of the most poverty-stricken neighborhoods, there's still almost a form of positivity in that same neighborhood. I could tell you that from firsthand experience from growing up in the projects. So This album, I'm going to give 3 out of 5 stars. It's an album that you're going to listen to probably here and now. You may go back to a track or two if you like it, but it doesn't have heavy replay value. That's what's a little disappointing for me. You may go back to it every now and then, but it could be a one and done for some of you. But Lloyd Banks definitely delivers the hardcore, gritty sound. There's very few punchlines. It's more just him talking about how fucked up the world is, and you get the sense from his last few albums, he sounds like a man that's hurt, or I won't even say trying to prove something, So he got to work on that and touch on that a little bit, because he is going to do a group album with Vado and Dave East, and they got a little personality. They don't do all just, the world's coming to an end tracks. They do some songs for the club, some songs for the, the ladies, so to speak, playlistic songs. They do some of that hood grimy songs. They do some of that stunt one-on-one songs. I would like Blue Hefner Lloyd Banks sprinkled in here just a little bit, even though you're much older than you was when you was on G Unit. That still doesn't mean you can't make songs for the grown and sexy. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, the album's very average. It's not one of the albums of the year, at least for me, but it's a solid listen. And there's nothing bad about the album, but there's nothing great about the album neither. It's just right there in the middle of the road. The best thing about it is the features. And that's saying something if, I'm listening to your album. Banks, something's missing. And I say it's that little sprinkle of that G Unit that we're missing. No Started Up, no Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. That's Blue Hefner. And that's what this album is definitely missing. A little bit of that, And you could do it in a grown, sexy way, the more mature way. You see, he could take notes from a guy like Nas. Nas never makes an album just one tone. Okay, beat you over the head with the same drum for numerous tracks to a point it gets repetitive. Nas is never repetitive, right? Each song is taking you into something different, but at the same time, it's in the same lane of what the album is. It's like a movie, right? You have your beginning, your middle part, and your ending. And within that whole album, you have the emotions, you have the streets, you have the personal lifestyles reflecting, and it's all entertaining. Lloyd Banks is missing that entertaining aspect a little bit. He sounds very repetitive, very robot-like, okay? And he needs to put a little in the style a little bit. That Blue Hefner need to come out. So that's my album review of Lloyd Banks, Course of the Inevitable Part 2. What you think about it? Peace.